Our next session is quite interesting as well, right? A lot of time what happens is that we're so used to living in our own pond that we actually forget what's happening in the ocean, right? We're constantly talking about how AI is changing your job descriptions, how AI is changing your everyday routine, that we stop to think about how AI is changing other industries around us, right? We're thinking about film industries, music industries, hospitals, and that's exactly what we're going to explore in our next panel discussion. So first off, again, let us please give a round of applause and welcome Suman back on the panel. Next up, we have Rajani Bhat. A huge round of applause, please. She is a pulmonologist from Sparsh. Rajani, it took me 1 minute before this session to by heart, the word pulmonologist. I kept mispronouncing it. This is a sign that I've never visited a pulmonologist before. All right, our last but very exciting speaker for the day is definitely Sankhadeep. A huge round of applause for Sankhadeep. He's the Gen AI architect at PwC and also, guesses guys, also into music. We will learn soon about his music skills very soon in the afternoon. So I hope you ensure to come back on time. And I'll tell you why this panel is interesting, because this is going to be moderated by Vineet. A huge round of applause for Vineet, everyone.
Check, check, check. Just checking the mic. Hello, I'm calling from Bajaj Finance. Okay, okay, it's working, right? Okay, all right. Yeah, Suman has already spoken about AI. He's talking about brains. He's spoken so much about AI. This may feel like a redux, this discussion, a little bit of it, but there'll be more layers that we'll try and add. Primarily, AI is here. And the discussion about AI started as something, as a technology to work with. Very soon we're discovering it's the human aspect here which plays a key role. It's not the technology. It's the humans who work with it. We have a very, very eminent panel here. They've all taken their time off to kind of come and talk to us. We'll try and figure out across fields of medicine, movie making, data science, and music, what is the human aspect that stays relevant while AI seems like a threat, but is actually not it, right? It's not a survival kit, but it's more their own learning. So with that, we will welcome our panel here. But before that, a pulmonologist, a movie maker, and a data scientist and a musician walk into a bar and order 3 martinis. The bartender is an agentic AI robot. And he says, sorry, we can't serve you because we've run out of tokens. It's a terrible joke. Now you know why I didn't become a scriptwriter or a stand-up. But I want to come to you first. What made you choose the profession you did? And let's start with you, Sankhadeep. I mean, what got into this? What aspect of it did you like? What about yourself did you thought you were going to work for this? No, 1 second. Just... Yeah, it's on.
Hello. First of all, thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to speak in front of you today and with this esteemed panel. It's an honor. All right, so I come from a statistics background. I completed my statistics masters from BHU, and then there were 2 choices. So I'll say from class 11, 12, everybody goes for science. I hated chemistry and also biology, ma'am. So I opted for other options. So economics and statistics were popular options then. I went ahead with that one. By the time I was in college, I knew that if I choose statistics, I would probably have a higher paycheck, job in case I get one. And then, yeah, I came into working industry in Bangalore. Started with basic analytics and regular mundane jobs, but then we soon kind of transferred into data science, predictive models. Statistics and mathematics always had that capability to kind of look at the phenomena around you. Anything that you see, you can kind of explain with an equation, let's say. You try to put something into an equation. So statistics does the same. And that way, anything that you observe, if you find some data, you can try to find out an equation and try to predict what's going to happen next. That can be a picture, it can be some sales number, whether a customer gonna churn or not, or something like that. So these are pretty standard data science use cases up till a point when big data was not there. Okay, and we used to have sampling. I'll give an example. When you cook rice, let's say, when it's about time, you pick up 1 or 2 grains. That's called sampling. Okay, you don't actually act with the population. You take about a sample. Because we did not have that much of compute power. After big data came into picture, we now have a lot of computational power, so we can work around with the population itself. No need for sampling. So sampling teachers, they have shifted to, let's say, inference or some other. Sampling is not that popular anymore, what I'm trying to say. Then by that time, statistics and data science model were pretty strong and they were pretty accurate. Then came LLM and it changed the game. And it also comes with certain pros and cons and still not developed yet, I would say. It's still growing, but it is doing wonders, and I'm sure it's going to see more realistic sense up ahead. And these are giving us good business, good money. So yeah, data science is a thriving sector at this moment, I feel.
Cool. Thank you. Pass the mic. What made you a doctor?
What made
Don't
me
you enjoy cutting earthworms as a childhood? No.
None of that. My husband makes this joke very often. In 12th standard, many of us who grew up in this kind of a home where, you know, science and engineering and medicine were the 2 options. When I was in 12th standard, there was a court case which delayed engineering admissions. So I'm very much an accidental doctor. What happened was, I was like, what am I doing? Summer holidays ends, and then sat in one college for a week and said, okay, chalo MBBS mein jaake dekhte hain kya hota hai.
English.
And the next thing I know is 2 exams have passed, and I'm sitting there with another couple of friends who also were contemplating this. We love biology and we love the technology world as well. And should we really go for our engineering interview? So there's us sitting at lunch break over in the dissection hall, contemplating कि Sion Hospital में बैठे हैं, should we go over to VJTI for the interview? It's really a hop, skip and jump away. And then we said, no, we're staying here. So that's sort of how I eventually became a doctor. But I think the story started much earlier with, you know, stories from Reader's Digest and all those things that used to come, like, miracles in medicine.
Lives like that. Lives like that.
Lives like that. Yes, absolutely. So yeah, I'm an accidental doctor in that way, but I've loved it ever since. And even in my further choices in medicine, there's been a lots of twists and turns. I thought I wanted to be an interventional radiologist because I loved the intersection of all the technology that radiology has and solving mysteries. So very Sherlock Holmesian in some ways, you could say, like, I'm going to solve this without you telling me anything. I'll just see the clues. From interventional radiology, went into primary healthcare because Maharashtra had a rule that everyone must serve in villages for 1 year because the rural areas of India are underserved. And I went in there after having won a symposium competition saying about how rural service is a very bad policy decision for medical education. So we went, lifted the trophy and went right into the villages for the next 1 year to say, you know, we still have to do it because it's policy. And that was the most transformational year of my life because there's you, a city girl, trained in, you know, a hospital which has all the facilities, now working in a very small remote village where access to water every day is difficult, and you learn to live and work in those conditions and see life up close in those situations. And you see what a multi-purpose worker or a nurse midwife does, and you're very much part of the social fabric there. And your word is counted in 2 ways. One, as doctor, to jo bhi bolenge, whatever they say, it must be right. Or the other is suspicion. You're a woman from a city. What are you teaching our family that we don't want incorporated in here? So you're 22 and dealing with this. Yeah. So it's a fair bit. Came back and realized that I don't want to do radiology because now 1 year of working as a family doctor has transformed me in a way.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not family man. I said, not
Family doctor. Yeah,
Sorry,
there's
go ahead,
another
go ahead.
story waiting to be written.
Go ahead, yeah.
Thank God he's not writing movies.
Yeah.
Sorry, Rajani, go ahead.
So yeah, so then I went into realize that radiology is not my world. I don't want to stay in a place where I'm only with images, but not the physical connection with patients and communities. Went back to internal medicine, did pulmonary critical care, and then realized when I moved back to India after my training that there's an area which is not addressed enough here in those days when I moved back, and that's palliative medicine and end of life care. So now my work is a combination of interventional pulmonology, which brings in all the robotics and imaging fun, and using AI models to look at ways of more accurate diagnosis, to also being able to have that human touch at the end of life, being able to help people face up to journeys that are kind of difficult.
Yeah.
So the high tech and high touch both are there now in my practice.
Wonderful. Suman, you never wanted to be a technical writer. You didn't get up technical writer. I want to be a technical writer. Did you say
I
that?
always was passionate about becoming a gynecologist. Never mind. Joke, guys. Joke. If somebody says I'm always one day I'll become a great tech writer. No. I mean, I became a tech writer because, at least, your engineering story is different. I couldn't even qualify to write the entrance examination for the. I sucked at academics. So, which is why I was a copywriter. I was in sales, and then I realized all you have to do is make people laugh, and the job is yours. And here I am. So, so I got into tech writing because I was really interested in writing, and I always wanted to do something that has something to do with writing, so that you don't lose your touch over your craft, which is words. And in fact, like when I started out as a tech writer, my grammar was like bad breath. But thanks to people like Vineet and they are my colleagues, and slowly, like over the years, I finally learned English, and then I said, okay, now I'm going to write film scripts. Yeah.
You made it sound very simple, but that's not true. But yeah.
No, it's boring.
It's
Yeah.
But no, but okay. So we've kind of spoken about this, that what has gotten you here, and you're all turning around, going about your lives, your professions, you're in charge, and then AI happens, right? When AI came in, and I'll start with Shankar again, what aspect of your job do you think it's changed? And I also wanted you to tell the audience, what are you still holding on dearly as a human? What aspect of it you still hold on? Like you give up some parts saying, yeah, I can do this, but what is it in your aspect? And you can talk about music as well and data science, and you can mix both our patterns. Yeah.
So AI, the way we understand it now is probably we're looking at LLM to be AI. But I would say any decision that you can make out of some data that you can analyze, some pattern that you can see is AI. Something that is not expected to happen, but some mechanism is making you, helping you to do that. That's AI. With LLM, things have really, it has gone, I would say 10x faster. So earlier we used to literally write models. Like if I want to understand whether a customer is going to churn or not, I need to write or actually create a classification model that starts from collecting data. The data has to be good enough, otherwise the model is going to be as bad as the data. And then cleaning that data, finding out what type of classification model might be suitable. There are different families of branches of models that are available. And then try out iteratively. Look at which model gives me lowest error so that I can trust this model. And that model kind of predicts. But then again, it doesn't stop there. You predict something. After a period of time, you need to relook at your model just to be sure that your model is not drifting. Because your pattern, your changes, your behavior may have changed. So data is very important. So that we used to do it from scratch and test. Now with LLM into play, you don't really need to write it from scratch. There is always an accelerator that you can use. These cloud providers, they have come in big numbers. These big three players, AWS, Azure, or GCP, they have their own microservices where they offer these models. You can pick those models and make adjustment as per your requirement, your data, and then you get good predictions. Traditional data science, I mean to say. And that has really made it so fast. Our earlier projects used to be much larger, maybe 3 months, 6 months projects. And the amount of budget that was there, because you need so many people to kind of turn them up. Right now, that time has gone back to 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Within that, if you are not able to put up a model, deploy, and put it to production, next time the project is not going to come to you. The second thing is, earlier probably we were dealing with a 10 people, 12 people, 15-member team. Now the expectation is you do the same thing in a much faster way with 2 people. That's how fast it has become. But do we blindly trust GenAI codes and etc.? No. No, it's a junior assistant, a junior data scientist, a junior analyst. And I need to really review all its work before I can give a green signal, because the ownership still lies with me. If something goes wrong in the business, the stakeholders, you love that word, I know, the stakeholders are going to basically come back and choke your neck. That's okay. It's your responsibility. You can't come back and say, Claude gave me a faulty code. That doesn't work.
So when you say review, what does it entail? As for you as a human, review sounds like a very,
So I thought of preserving this for the end of this discussion, but I think I'll just wait it out. I feel finding the best model is more art than science. What as human we feel, if I can give an example of music as well, it's more human than equation. Okay, right now all the LLMs and everything that we have are mostly equations. They can help a lot. Science can take you to certain distance. It can really help out, ease out researches and brainstorming. It can be more comprehensive, wider. But at the end of the day, we as human are those artists. We know our art. We know what it makes a good writing. You know what it makes a good writing. He definitely knows what makes a good script, so that we are all glued to Family Man. I'm a really fan of that series. Thank you so much for making it. So that's where it's all human, I feel. One more example, last example I want to give. So for the musical part of it, many of you can kind of guess or know that, okay, when there is a song, somebody must have written it, somebody must have given a tune to it. Then once the song is loved by, let's say, the team, then somebody would sing the song. There are singers. There are multiple musicians, bass guitar, electric guitar, acoustic guitar, keyboard, synth, variety of wind instruments, exotic instruments like sitar and etc. Everything has to be recorded separately, mixed, mastered. Then leaving the marketing part of it, but then after this entire journey, the song is complete, right? Now with Suno, after this LLM has come into picture, although Suno is utilizing their own LLM, you can give a prompt and there will be a song. You like it or not, that's a different question, but you can generate a song very, very quickly. You can also not only generate the song, you can also get into a studio mode where you can see these individual tracks. If you like any track, it's fine. If you don't, let's say I don't like the drums, so I select the drums, I delete it, select the area I need a drum and say, generate a drum pattern for this song. They will generate. You may like, you may not like, so you can regenerate. So it's a hit and trial. You'll never know that whether I have 500 tokens. Oh, by the way, every generation needs tokens. And how do you optimize your token is now becoming a way of how you are interacting and using LLMs. But the idea, what I'm trying to say is, when you make a song, you have a feeling, you have an emotion, you have something to say that comes as a poem. You have something to convey as a tune that comes as a song. But then what AI generates is finding patterns from the all set of songs that have been fed to it as data. So after certain things, you would be able to find a repetition. Sir, I have tried asking Suno, give me a song like Pritam. Give me a song like A.R. Rahman. Give me a song like Shankarashan Loy. And I could find the moment I see Shankarashan Loy, either it gives me a rockish, like rock on type song, or with Punjabi dhol taka 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 taka, because they have so many of such things. For Pritam, they have this type of things. I can ask, give me a song like Arijit, and that husky voice, definitely no way close to what Arijit can sing, comes up. So it basically finds pattern, comes up with something which, if you are trying to create it from scratch, would take you some time, or you may not be able to go to that 50-50, 50-60 okay level. But it never goes beyond that. You still need that human element, human touch, real instructions to take it to some level. But what makes it magical, what makes Family Man is him. No way the AI.
Great. Yeah. Thanks, Sankhadeep. Rajani, your complex job, what again? AI enters your world. You spoke about patterns and that AI is helping you with that. How has AI changed your job, and what is it that you're still holding on very precious? Your skills, your expertise. What is it that you're, important?
So there's so many. So I think health and education have been two fields which have sort of been resistant to the disruptions of AI, because we've always been concerned about, how do you stay true to the ethics and accountability of taking care of another human being? Because in education, you're taking care of young minds. In health, we're taking care of bodies that are complex. And there's a lot of ethical decisions to be made here. So they've always been wary of any technology which tends to supersede decision making that we think humans are really good at. But there's so many ways in which this can democratize access, make access to healthcare more equitable. I mean, you have such wonderful progresses that have happened. We have endoscopy, which can recognize as we are going into patients' bodies that, when things are so subtle, it's like literally a 3-millimeter lesion or something, just such a subtle difference, but it's going to tell you biopsy from this region and you're likely to catch the cancer when it's literally that small. They're using patterns like this in neurosurgery. They're using it in GI endoscopy. Hopefully it'll come to the lungs in the next year or so. So it's really going to take the human error out of it in many ways, in sampling perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
When you have so many choices to make, decisions are quick. Time is limited because there's a patient who can only be stable for a certain amount of time. So we're able to add more levels of complexity to the care we can deliver more safely. But there are also problems because it tends to amplify some of the biases that we have as humans. So it's only working on what's available right now. So you will have the biases come in, which have been part of human biases, whether it's about dark skin tones, not interpreting patterns correctly on those, all the existing biases that exist, whether it's gender, race, skin color in healthcare, will potentially get amplified. Just recently, it was Women's Day on the 8th of March, and we were talking about how there are still gender disparities in design and inclusivity of gender, size, age, color, all of these. And we have to be careful about how AI either amplifies or helps to reduce the bias on that. I've seen certain challenges with, I think the easiest things that people have used are for pattern recognition for images. Great. It's doing the work of what I did when I was a first-year radiology resident. Our job was to overread. Ki, ye bhi cancer hai, ye bhi cancer hai, ye bhi cancer hai. Then it's up to the third year and the consultant finally to say, no, this is normal variant, this is whatever. So that's ideally the job of AI, to overread, screen what is absolutely bang normal, put it aside, and then reduce the work of the senior.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, there have been a few models recently which are troublesome, because there was this whole thing about a bunch of patients feeding in their symptoms, and ChatGPT should have told at least 35-40% of them to go to the emergency room right away, and they told them to wait 2-3 days more, right? So we know there's a long way to go before it can do that degree of decision making. So that apart, it can still increase access for so many people who don't have access to a doctor at all. I told you about working in rural service. The decision-making supports that are there with AI tools can really help a community health officer who's not a doctor be able to reach specialists far away after having done the due diligence that a younger doctor should have and isn't there right now in that village to do. The human part of it is the fact that medicine is changing, but touch and feel remains the same. We have a lot of models which are simulators and things which are coming very close to figuring out the sensitivity of human touch, the feeling of give. When I'm teaching someone to perform a procedure, it's very hard to explain the feeling of entering a space when you're just going past a barrier which is less than a millimeter or something. It's a feeling of give in my fingertips. It can only be something that's taught again and again by repetition. So how will we create models for that? That still has to be physically done. The other part is interpreting emotion and excluding things. I have a AI scribe thing that I'm testing out in my clinic. It is supposed to help me pay more attention to the patient and not be typing down words while I'm having a conversation. Now, to me, conversations about I had a really bad night is as important as a pulmonologist to pick up on a patient's mood as it is about a sleep disorder in their breathing. But the scribe thinks I'm a pulmonologist and this is not important for my conversation and leaves parts of it out. Therefore, I need to constantly keep checking and saying, oh, there's an important piece of story that's missing here. Medicine is just not data points and things. It's someone coming to you with a story, and AI doesn't yet capture the story. It captures just important touch points there. So then you'll be left with a mechanical diagnosis and not a holistic diagnosis of this is a person with an illness, and this is not an organ with a disease. So that's the part that I'm holding on to. And when it comes to, so there's this, I don't know, many of you may have tried it. It's like, will AI take your job? There's this thing you can go to and feed in your job profile, and it tells you what's the percentage chance of AI taking your job. So when I fed in my pulmonology credentials, it's like, you're gone. But when I fed in my palliative medicine credentials, like, you'll survive. It's okay. So that part won't go away. Supporting human emotions, supporting families through difficult decisions, and being there to hold someone's hand when they're breathing their last, or being there to share the joy when they've come out of a very difficult surgery or a transplant and gotten a new lease of life. That's not something, your patient who's coming out of a transplant wants to reach out to you and hold their hand because they're breathing without oxygen now. They're not going to reach out to a machine to do that. So you're still very important.
I just want to get you, Rajani, very quickly. You said when, as a junior doctor, you have to read through so much. On the reports, you have to go through manually, right? To get to a level of expertise. We'll talk about expertise in a minute, but just please hold on to the thought, because I think that's key to what we're trying to discuss here. But Suman, yes, AI into filmmaking, script writing.
Yeah,
Give me season 4 of Family Man, season 4, and we'll give it to you. And
right now there are movies. There are actually shows that are being streamed as we speak, which are completely made from AI. I mean, of course, things will get, the production quality of it will get better with time, with the tech improving and all that, and also the cost footprint might also become smaller, because he was talking about tokens and all that, right?
Yeah.
But are they great stories? I have yet to see an AI in any AI engine. Like when I give a prompt, I mean, I would be lying if I told you I haven't tried it. I have, like when I'm faced with a problem, for example, say, how do I crack this scene? Like, how do I, like it's a scene, it was a scene in season 3 between Srikanth Tiwari and Suchitra, his wife. And I kept saying, what do I do? Because there are so many scenes before this. I'm like, how do I make it interesting? I didn't want it to be another status quo scene. I wanted it to be something evocative, something that like tells the audience something more at the same time keeping it, intriguing and entertaining. And I was like sitting there breaking my head saying, how do I crack this scene? And sure enough, multiple AI, engines threw the scene at me. Without exception, every single one was like really bad. And I say this objectively. And then I thought, why should Srikant Tiwari have a scene with his wife? I mean, but we have never shown him have a conversation with his daughter. Boom. Now, this I don't know if AI can do. Honestly, technically it's mind mapping, saying you're mapping one character with all other characters and trying to see what plot or next, whether it's plot or in the character's journey, what is the next step. You can't do it, but I have yet to see AI like really surprise me. Yeah, that's the short answer.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Yes, please, Rajani. Yeah.
Something that I was reminded of when you mentioned Srikant Tiwari and his daughter. There are these blink moments in our lives where I really can't explain why I'm thinking and feeling a certain way. And it's very hard for me to explain to my colleagues how I came upon a diagnosis. But sometimes it's about understanding the dynamics between two people in a room and reading far more than just what the picture is showing you at that point. And I'll give you an example. This is emergency room a long time ago, Apollo Hospital, when I worked there. And it's the evening and I'm about to leave the hospital and the ER calls me saying that there's a consult request. A family physician has sent someone to see you. And they're like, you don't have to worry, ma'am. It's like throat pain, fever. It's a very generic case. I don't even know why they asked to see the pulmonologist for this one, because I don't even think it's a pulmo issue. But because this GP has requested that you specifically see, can you pop by before you leave? So I'm like, yeah, sure. So on my way out with my bags and everything, I'll walk into the ER and I see a gentleman who's in the ER and all his vitals are perfectly stable. It's just that he's lying very still. His daughter, who's about 17 or 18, is by the bedside. And he's really not talking. She's telling me the entire story of how dad's had a very busy week at work. He's been traveling. He came in just yesterday. He really didn't eat much at all. He said he hadn't eaten much the whole day, the previous day as well, and has just come in from his travels. And this morning, he's just got a severe throat pain. He's got a fever. He's not able to swallow. So he goes to his GP, then he gets referred to our hospital, and our ER team is seeing him, nothing except a sore throat. Something about it doesn't sit right with me. This is the kind of man who would not let his teenage daughter take charge and be the storyteller. And so they're like, we're running the usual test. We're doing a CBC, we're doing this, we're doing that, waiting on the results. I said, do an ABG as well. It's an arterial blood gas. They're like, why ABG? He's perfectly stable. You don't need an ABG. His oxygen levels are perfectly fine. I'm like, I don't know. Indulge me. I'm asking for it. That GP sent it to me. I'm going to do a thorough checkup over here. And I can't find out what's wrong with him other than a sore throat. ABG comes back with a lactate of 8. This man is about to crash in 4 hours. His blood counts come out sky high. So we've diagnosed a cancer which is presenting as a sore throat just based on the fact that I didn't think the story fit. Because they asked me, what made you ask for that test? The test came back like a little later after I had left. And then he was moved to the ICU, stabilized, everything happened. But watching stories, reading books, watching art, listening to music, sensitizes a doctor to the human condition. That makes it go beyond, this is a sore throat. This is something more than a sore throat. This man not speaking, this is out of character. Something else is going on. I need to explore deeper. I need to run more tests. And so there are many such blink moments that I've had where it's going to be like, they're like, oh, it's nothing. It's just, diarrhea. It's just this. The minute a young doctor says it's just this and is like ready to let go, I'm like, maybe I should look at those. No. It's just about trying to take away the bias. I have these biases in my mind too, right? So there have been enough stories like this in my life where my colleagues will come and tell me, why did you ask for that test? What made you? I'm like, it's hard for me to at that moment say, I don't know, I just had a feeling. Later on, when I think about it, it's posture, it's voice, it's their eyes not looking up. Something made me dig deeper. I don't know if AI can do that yet.
So it's the expertise, right? It's again coming back to what you've learned. It's an inbuilt thing that you've developed over the years, right? It's human instinct.
Also,
of course.
it's also learning, not just medicine, but
Mhm.
learning through arts, learning through observation.
Observation, this
learning
data,
through-
right? Data,
Yes,
data,
yes.
yeah, the patterns, right? So Sankhadeep, again, analyzing data, numbers, there's something to it, right? How do you pick up? What skills are you still retaining? What skills do you think you need to develop further? Even with AI giving you 2 months of work in, let's say, a week or 2 days. What rigor, what discipline, what's your
See,
take on
the
this?
fundamentals don't change, right?
Can you expand on fundamentals?
Yeah. So point is, if I'm doing, let's say, data science or analytics, I know that I need to look into some data. I need to understand whether the data is believable or not, good enough or not, and then slice and dice that data and find out certain insights which are actionable from business perspective. If I find out there are
I just want to interrupt there, Shankar. When you say data, when you say business, the patterns and knowledge, are we talking about domain expertise? Can you?
Absolutely, that's the point I'm trying to say.
Okay.
So basically, what makes us what we do in our work is based on our experience, what we learn over the years. And you can Google information, but you cannot Google somebody's experience, right? That is something that we gather
And also,
working.
I don't mean to interrupt again. I can have 20 years of experience and still not have expertise.
Yeah, then it's a difficult place for this. Then it's a difficult industry.
Yes.
I really loved one line from your previous slides that AI may not replace you, but people using AI may replace you. I mean, if you are not finding that after working for 20 years, you are not really an expert in your job, then yeah, probably you should relook and try seeing a better, greener pasture.
Better movies? Okay. Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but that expertise and experience is also important.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think fundamentally we are doing the same thing which we had been doing for so many years. Just that earlier we had a less capable tool. Now we have a stronger tool, and that is making things faster and wider, comprehensive, etc. But unless and until you have clarity in your mind on what you want to achieve, what you want to do, you cannot expect a good output whether you use AI or not. Ultimately, your domain expertise, your research, your clarity in your brain on what exactly you want to achieve, at least from a scientific or methodical perspective, that as ma'am said, something did not fit into the story that came out of experience. I mean,
do you have
exactly,
a story?
no AI can do this.
So do
you
have a story
know
here?
which
Do you have a story here? Sorry, again, I just want to, I'm very interested in your stories as well, because as a data, it's so important, right? You may help save a business.
Okay, so I cannot share the company name and etc. But then the idea is
Come
this. The idea is this. It's a apparel company, okay, and we saw that there are plenty of shirts and pants on the website. Shirts are getting sold like crazy, but nobody's buying pants. So we tried investigating. Data science or analytics sometimes becomes like an kind of a spy or inspector or something like that. So we looked at that there are enough sessions, web sessions that are getting created. There are enough web session length as well, like 1 minute, 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes. Okay, that's enough there for pants. But somehow the final conversion is not happening. We kind of hypothesized a few things, which I mean, analysts and data scientists, they start with certain hypothesis. Either it clicks, then that becomes insight. It doesn't click, then we know at least, okay, we looked for a wrong thing. So we hypothesize that probably people are coming here, they're looking around the website, but not really finding a good choice. To test it out, the way was, let's look at shirt and see what is the number of session and what is the session duration. We found that number of sessions per customer is about the same as pants, but number of session duration for shirt was much lesser than number of session duration for pants, and purchases for shirts are much higher, purchases for pants are much lower. This clearly indicates that people are coming looking for shirts, they're finding good options very quickly, they're buying it. Pants, they are looking for all around the site, they're seeing everything, increasing their session duration, then liking none, and they're leaving.
Important lesson for us: when somebody spends too much time on a website, our content is not written well. I mean, let's not assume that.
Something that should click, I think clicks just in a moment, just in a snap. Like he said that he was trying out and out to find out a conversation, but then the idea of having conversation with the daughter came in a snap, right? So if you have some idea and you want to do it, it should happen really quickly. If you're really struggling and breaking your head around the wall.
Yep.
I have a question, but you mentioned that.
Yeah.
Critical, right?
Yeah.
Is AI able to generate hypotheses that are not cliche?
Okay, so yeah, Jenny, I can, but then
The
you
question
have
was, sorry, for those on webinar, the question is, can AI generate the same hypotheses that Sankhadeep just spoke about in terms of, it's not cliched, but the shirts and pants, let's say.
AI can generate hypotheses.
So are you asking Eddie, had he fed this into ChatGPT saying, why are people buying shirts but not pants? They were, no?
Can you hypothesize possibilities of why this happens?
Yeah.
Maybe this is the cause.
Mhm. Can you just, for folks on webinar?
Yeah. Can I give you like a 2-minute context? Yeah. So I was reading this thing about chimpanzees, right? So chimpanzees have been taught and they have extensive vocabularies. They're able to speak about abstract things as well. One remarkable thing about chimpanzees is in 0 conversations have they asked a question. They have never asked a question. They just accept information and they're fine with whatever they're told. They have never asked a question. AI does that too. AI does not question your query, right? It does not debunk your query. It accepts your query as a legitimate question and it gives you an answer to please you. And if your prompt is detailed, the more detailed your prompt is, the more it shapes the query to do that. So I was wondering whether that would also extend to hypotheses.
Yeah, can I answer that? Yeah.
I'd like to add something before. I'm so sorry. Like the scenario that he mentioned where customers are looking at a shopping website, not Myntra or Amazon, but they're looking at shirts and they spend a lot of time looking at trousers, but they don't buy trousers. Right now, you're talking behavior here. You're talking user behavior, customer behavior, and for someone to observe behavior, you need to be human. I don't think AI can. See, at the end of the day, AI is only interpret. Yeah. It can. First of all, in a situation like this, in this particular context, I don't think AI can understand behavior in the first place. Yeah. Number one is that, and also observe behavior and then come up with a solution. Like for example, I'll give a quick story. There's this book called Why We Buy: The Science of Shopping. It's by Paco Underhill. Okay, in that he explains about how, like back in the day when this guy was a retail researcher, they used to put all, let's for example, a trouser company has launched and a apparel company has launched a new product and they used to keep it at the front as soon as you enter, but the sales it wasn't happening. So when they studied the CCTV footage, right, they arrived at a conclusion, the researchers, including Paco Underhill, that we mimic an airplane when we enter a shopping, supermarket or any place like shopping place like that. So you start, you have landed and you go and you completely miss what's in the front, and then you go and you slow down, taxi, stop at the aisle, and then you look up and then you start shopping. Which is why they reversed it and they put things like chewing gum, cigarettes, because that's the thing that you look for last minute buy when you're checking out. So this nugget of wisdom came about because somebody was watching, observing behavior, and then they used their experience to come up with a solution that I hope that made sense. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah, yeah.
In extension to that, I think AI can generate hypotheses. You can ask, you can create it in a scenario where it will consciously ask you question. You can generate that agent that way, or you can create a multi-agent system in today's world where you can actually create it like a system where it can look into certain data, it will generate certain hypotheses, it will also ask you questions. But can you trust all of those hypotheses? Probably not. What it can help you, it is with the brainstorming. Probably you are not thinking about that particular hypothesis, but you really liked it out of that 100 hypotheses that it had shared. Okay, you probably don't need all of them. That's why that manual, human in the loop, manual verification, and that human experience come into picture. But it can generally help you create a bunch of hypotheses. It can not only create hypotheses, it can also hit the data, test out that hypothesis, whether it's true or false. And iteratively, it can get into a place where from 15 hypotheses, it boils down to 5 to 3 to 1, and then give you a conclusion. But you still need to go ahead and cross-check it and validate it with your experience.
Good. Rajani, I mean, I know doctors' expertise, there's no way, right? But again, right, when AI starts throwing up so much of easy to kind of read data, and it's so shining, how do we all, right, all of us, including you, right, as a doctor and the newer doctors who come in, how do you filter out the chaff, and what do you do? Is the temptation to kind of quickly give, the pressure is there to quickly deliver, AI can do it for you.
Yeah.
But then where does expertise come in, and how do you hold on to that expertise without getting into any kind of brain rot, or say, okay, it's all there, I'm just here to say yes, no?
I think it's a challenging question that people in medical education really must pay a lot of attention to, because there's part of the experience of learning and growing and developing skills, which comes from thinking through, making mistakes over and over. And maybe that's stuff that can come through with simulations and things. But there's also this really big, important problem of access to healthcare.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if we start viewing AI as a way of improving access to one of my pet peeves is when people start using a lot of technology to solve for tier 1 cities, tertiary, quaternary care centers, where we want to decrease the time taken to, maybe something takes 15 minutes or even 2 hours, and you're trying to reduce it to 5 minutes, as opposed to let's solve for those who don't have access to any doctor for 500 kilometers. So the challenge is that everyone's trying to look at it as AI in healthcare in this very market way. And I don't like looking at it in that way.
Okay.
If we started looking at it as a problem, a larger problem to solve, then you would be finding ways of training people to use it in that way, where this is something that's going to augment their learning and experience. You can't have equal exposure for everyone. There are medical schools and colleges in parts of our country where they don't have access to all the technology.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have, say a hospital like Sparsh in Bangalore, where we are able to perform all the most advanced procedures.
Yeah.
How do you make it possible for doctors in both settings to be able to deliver good quality care? So that's where the AI comes in to help people, just because access hasn't been there even for learning for those people. But we'll have to find ways of making it experiential and hands-on. It can't take away, good rational thinking. One of the challenges that one of my colleagues who's a pediatrician in Sholapur was telling me was, we have, the way we learn is that apprentice model in medicine. It's, you train over the years. So it's just like a karigar. Someone who's a ceramic worker learns exactly right. They can literally smell from the kiln when they know that the pots are ready now, right? It's
Yeah.
not something that they can describe, but they're like, "Ha, now it's ready." Why? Hawa mein hai. They can make out. So it's by apprenticeship that we really become skilled at our craft. But there's a baseline level when we're talking about art and science, which can be done at a very mechanical level. And that part still needs repetitive learning, repetitive procedures, and things like that. I have seen young doctors who have only relied on technological tools to perform procedures fail when there's no electricity. Can you still do it only with touch and feel? So that's one of the challenges that's there. So that will not go away. You have to have, we don't need to use humans as subjects. We have simulation mannequins that'll do it, but you have to put in the hours. So that rigor has to be there. We had a problem of access to journals and access to literature. Now that's not there. So it's access to learning and literature that's there, but access to experience is still extremely important, because otherwise you're making diagnosis of illnesses in Sholapur which do not exist in India. That's only seen in South America or something, right? If you feed it into, and like, let me ask ChatGPT to help me out with making a diagnosis and just feed and stuff, you'll get an answer which is not contextual. It has to be contextual. So rigor cannot be replaced. Rigor and rational thinking and ways of working through uncertainty, I think that's the part that cannot be replaced, and learning how to figure out uncertainty and also navigating complex decision making with ethics. AI can offer you, as you said, a whole bunch of options. Now it's up to the human to figure out, and that has to be with rigor and rational thinking.
Perfect. Well said, Raji. Suman, anything, I mean, I can go to a film institute and learn filmmaking, right? But how do I frame the story that connects? What is the rigor and discipline? And you spoke about it in your keynote. It's like there's so many things at play here. A lot of it is also content writing in terms of technical content. It has to resonate with the user, right? And before we open up to the audience for any questions they may have, but just your quick thoughts on that.
What's the question?
What rigor do you get?
What
rigor do you get into your filmmaking,
rigor?
story making, writing?
Yeah, they say that, right?
Because creativity is always, sometimes creativity is like, oh, I have a glass of beer and a flash, and then there's no hard work behind it.
I'm not that lucky.
Okay.
And
Anybody.
Yeah,
So that's what I want you to, yeah.
the writing really is, I mean, I'm preaching to the choir here, but writing is really rewriting, where you think this word, this, because words create sounds, and those sounds have an impact. So for the experience that you're creating for your audience. So you get pretty anal about it, and I mean that in a good way. And also, I think the problem is not the writing, the physical act of scribing itself, because I'm constantly writing in my head. The true problem to solve is, how does one find a story that is fresh, that excites you, that you think people will love it? Where is my next story? That is the toughest part. I think once you crack the story, then which is something that because they say there are there are only 7 kinds of stories: vendetta, romance, voyage, like that. But despite that, like, there are only 7 nodes. Yeah, sure, but it's an ocean, right? Similarly, even stories are, and I don't want to again repeat what I said during my talk. The thing is that we love stories because they kept us alive back in the day. We need to understand that why is it that why is that people don't mind reading a tome by Stephen King called It. It's about some 1,500 pages, but people don't want to read a manual that is supposed to help them fix the problem, that is supposed to help them troubleshoot. Why is it that they're not interested? I mean, that is a fascinating angle there, which is why fiction, which is why there are lessons to be learned for us, because I've also been a technical communicator. There are lessons that we can learn from that. Like, for example, everything that they said, that the human element is key. And I really don't want this conversation or to turn into saying, will we survive? Like, how will AI take over job? I mean, come on. Like, a robot can replace all the housekeeping stuff here. Yes. Is it a possibility? Yes. Because I'm sorry, guys, but that's the truth. A robot can, like, we have robotic vacuum cleaners in our houses, right? So it is replacing jobs as we speak. Of course, it will replace jobs. It will, but is it going to threaten us? I don't know. Then we need to evolve. That's all I said. I mean, like I said, if AI can replace your job, maybe that job is not for you. I don't know. I mean, but coming back to the whole point of rigor, like she said, the experience, you will be staring at the same paragraph, same scene for like 3 weeks and nothing comes out. And suddenly one day you'll wake up and say, you know what, I'm going to set this scene in North India, 1990s. It's going to be in an Andhra restaurant. It's random. And they're like, bro, the story is set in North India. Why will you have an Andhra meals place, Andhra mess there? And I'm like, exactly. That's what makes it interesting. You know what I'm saying? So this also happens. So it's all it's not a one size fits all. There is no silver bullet. But yeah, it's like.
But no, you know what your end user wants. Ultimately, what they're looking for. That.
No, I don't.
You don't know. Fine. then yeah.
The hope is that.
The hope is that. Yeah.
The hope. The one is the hope. Two is It's like, see. I know there is a reason why the traffic light colors are the same across the world. Red, amber, and green. Nobody will dare change it because it's become a standard. There's a reason why it's red, amber, and green, right? Similarly, you also know what is the red, amber, green of your audience saying. So you hope that, you know what, I'm going to stay in the zone, and I hope that this will work. I know this is a great joke, but like I said, I wanted to come and say I see dead people, but I didn't do it because I was really scared that, what if the joke lands flat, like my IT career. So, right. So what will I do? So which is why I chickened out. So yeah, but that's the same process with filmmaking as well.
Absolutely. And I think somewhere, there's a question on the bridge. Yeah.
Can I just want to make a comment about that robot that's going to take your job and the fear of the robots taking your job. In medicine, I hope that there are robots that reach places that doctors can't. So I really think we need to let go of this fear that it's going to take my job, but maybe it's going to do the work that we need to amplify more of ourselves for where access isn't. So I'm totally with you that we need to shift that fear framework to one of how is this going to improve access.
One of evolution, basically. That's what I mean.
Good. There's a question on the webinar.
For all of the panelists.
All the panelists.
So how will the next generation of doctors, filmmakers, musicians learn the foundational skills with amplified need or push to be dependent on AI tools to be more productive in everyday work?
By blood and sweat. Otherwise, there's no point.
You want to say this, Spike? Because
I mean, a classical musician needs to really put a lot effort to practice. Otherwise, those things are not gonna come. You can still go to Suna and ask, okay, give me a guitar solo or a sitar solo. It'll create, but the craft would be missing. If you are a data scientist, you're coming to data science, people needs to understand what data science is, what our basic prediction models do, how AI work, then you put it to good use.
I think doctors of the future will only be helped by AI, and really need to put their mind. See, I think doctors are resistant to technology and change in general. The healthcare systems are like that. And I think the younger generation of doctors is different because they're far more engaged with the way the world is changing and using technology a lot more. So it's going to be about really improving access to things that they have not seen before. So in some ways it can improve your rigor. Stuff that wasn't available to you is now available to you. And I actually think AI has a role to play even in the human aspect of it. There's AI tools that have helped in improving empathetic communication, breaking cultural barriers. not stuff that was taught earlier, but they've actually found that, well, that if you're saying AI is more empathetic than a doctor, then what can a doctor do? Learn that script, learn how to do that. So maybe it can help teach you. So I like to think of it as using it as either that senior resident who's making your job a lot easier, or that really nice mentor guide who's also trying to help you get better.
Yeah.
As Sankhadeep says, it does not happen unless you have the curiosity and drive to get better as a clinician. I would like to think of medicine like an artist or a writer would. There are times when we will have writer's block, doctor's block, and there's going to be ways in which even, again, there, it can help you break out of the
True.
blocks.
Thank you. Final words.
I see it's a good thing. Like I said, AI is probably a significant step in human evolution. Thereby, I hope, like, for example, if you're going to make template movies, which like this whole super macho guy who can beat up 1,000 people single-handedly, AI can do it like, in a blink of an eye. It can churn out, 100,000 movies. No problem at all. But come on, like, give me a nuanced narrative, like, I don't know, as good as it gets, Helen Hunt and
Jack Nicholson.
I was about to say
Yeah.
Anthony Hopkins. Yeah. So a movie like that, which talks about being human, which talks about being a single mom, which talks about being this guy who has OCD, all that. I don't think so what this does is this basically, this will, and the reason why even those, really crappy movies, they rake in thousands of crores is because, like I said, in a story, you just suspend your logic and you don't question why that water glasses were kept there in the dashboard in the first place in Jurassic Park. So, which is why they're making money. That doesn't mean they're good. Okay, number one is that. And number two is because AI has made it so easy, what will happen is the better stories will find the light of day. And that's how I see that as an evolution. I think hopefully Bollywood will start making meaningful human movies.
Yeah,
That's the hope. That's what IA should be doing. Yeah.
So what I'm hearing here is, and I think all of us have heard is this, right? AI is here, but no matter what the field, including ours, medicine, data science, music, filmmaking, right? It's what sets us apart is that expertise and domain knowledge, right? For us, we know what it is. For the doctor, it could be a minor twitch that's more than an anxiety. For the musician, it's a note that actually resonates without any explanation or any logic, but it resonates. It comes from experience. A scene that just hits across multiple screens and people just relate to it because it's something which is human. That we have, to my mind and to all of us, simplified calling it human in the loop. But human in the loop is not signing triplicate forms. It's years of rigor, practice, domain expertise that's irreplaceable. That's what, on the other side of, all of these fields, the patient feels reassured, right? The listener says, this is something that's taken him back to my childhood, reminds me of my parent, that just one musical note. The data scientist says, I find a signal here among the noise. The movie maker, the audience feels, I can go back and watch this again. That is what is actually human in the loop. It's not about reviewing things. It's about getting into it deeper than before to make that sense for audience. And the audience is all of us. The audience is our customers. When they say, they find a place of trust and say, this is the place for me. This is the doctor for me. This is the musician for me. That's a movie maker for me. That's the content for me. Thank you, panelists. This has been such an amazing, amazing talk. All of them are extremely busy folks. I can't thank you enough for making this time for us. I'm Suman, Rajani. And before we go, sorry, we just, just sit there. The doctor, the data scientist, and the filmmaker walked into CDEx 2026. I don't know what happened next. It's live, but I think, Shishma, you can take us through this. We have, Ishita. Thank you so much. This is from all of us. Ishita, please.
All right, thank you so much, everyone. We'll definitely see more of Shanko in the afternoon. So excited for that. We will now take a short break of 30 minutes. Now this time for you to go visit our booths if you haven't already and enjoy the tea and snacks that is kept for us downstairs. Thank you so much, everyone. See you all here at 11 a.m. Like I said, coming on time can sometimes be rewarding.